I'm here. You can tell him that I'm here. Moshe, could you let him know that I'm here? If he wants to set his watch to me, I'm good. I'm good, ready to go. I also tell him I'm controlling the temperature of the air conditioner to let him know that. I know he may want that. Maybe we should give him that job. That's okay with me.
Who says much better now? It's freezing when first job.
Was it cold? I below the air because it was warm.
Oh, yeah.
I'll bring this up. At the beginning, no, right at the beginning. Okay? The problem here is that when it happens in small issues, so it gets warm very quickly, but it gets cool very quickly. Like if you look at the air conditioner, there's a lot of benefits because this really this is open. You don't have that problem, and this is closed at very small windows. So one of the major issues we had with the shul was the air conditioners and the heat. Very high ceilings, right? Very, very high ceilings. And instead of putting in many vents, they put it two big vents in the front of the shul. If you're in the front of the shul, have a shower, it's 10 degrees cooler there than in the back of the shul. So guys complain about the shul. The guys don't fuck up. And you sweat. Because it's that big of a room. So, and they try to change that, the balancing, the cost balancing. And you see these are and this is open. You know, the heat rises, so it's actually warmer. But I'm going to take the sensitivity.
Well,
because the air's not on. I just moved. It's 67. It was 67 degrees. Long, right? This is the science.
You can never satisfy everybody when it comes to
nothing like climate as a
it's a big issue in Shanghai. One is
I
hot,
tell my
one's
wife,
cold.
we're sweating.
Yeah, that was also
Yeah. Exactly. If you're giving, you take it. You got it, brother. No, it's just only the other to be giving. Never in the other position. Typically, mitzvahs usually take care of the shoulders. Everybody.
make sure you've got your seat.
Okay. Could you tell them we're up? There's a little bit of a problem with the so could you send me the link?
Good to see everybody. Because I had to look at each other in Yerushalayim. So we're continuing Ayekah on page Kuf Lamed Zayin Tzadik Yesod Olam. But in order to enter back into this beautiful world, which is really magnificent building that Rav Sasson is building on the Yesod of Rav Kook, Susi Elena. So I wanted to give a little bit of Hakdama just to bring us back into the Sugya. And everything is, I always found over the years, it's Min HaShamayim that it comes out the exact time. You know, that Hashem is Machlef, it says Madim, Satzke, Chavim, Mishmesem, and it comes out that we're Erev Rosh Hashanah, in the middle of the month of Elul, and the sugya that we're talking about is Ratzon. We began before the summer. So we're up to page Kuf Lamed Zayin. The name of the mimer of the parak is Tzadik Yisod Olam. Tzadik Yisod Olam. And all that we've been talking about, really from the beginning of the Sefer, but particularly in the last section that we were up to before the summer, is the sugya of Ratzon, of will, of Bechira. I'm sure you remember. There's no such thing as Bechira if a person wasn't the Bal Ratzon, but where does Ratzon come from? What is Ratzon? That's the sugya that we're in. And the time that we're in right now, of Elul, of course, is the Yemei HaRatzon, the days of Ratzon. This time, from Rosh Chodesh Elul until Yom Kippur, and really continuing on through Sukkot, but these are the days of Ratzon. Now, the very first words in Eitz Chaim of the Kisvei Ari is Gisha'olo b'Ratzonu Yisbarach Shemai Livro Es HaOlam. In order to understand anything that we're learning here, and this Bichlal, the whole Indian of Tshuva, which going back already years when we began learning Rav Kook's Torah, the Arsa Tshuva. The whole Arsa Tshuva, of course, Tshuva is based upon Bechira, of changing one's choices in life, and choice is something that is rooted in will, in Ratzon. When one learns Rav Kook, everything about davening is Ratzon. Everything in Tshuva is Ratzon. The ninth parak, there's a higher Ratzon, there's a lower Ratzon. There's a higher Tshuva and a lower Tshuva, and so on. The beginning of really, one can say the beginning of the world of the Ariyah Kodesh that's revealed to us is with those words. When it arose in the will of Hashem, in the Ratzon of Hashem to create the world. And then it continues. Then there's all of the rest of the story. But the beginning of everything is Ratzon. The beginning of everything is will. Now, why is it that these days are called the days of Ratzon that we're in right now, leading up to Rosh Hashanah? So I'm just going to read you a few sentences from the Bnei Sasson. The first mimer on Elul, the Bnei Sasson explains this. And he writes, why these days that we're in now, why are they called Yemei Ratzon? So the most basic explanation that we all were raised with and we understand is that Moshe Reuven went up for the second Luchos after what happened with the Egel and the Shvius Luchos. So the second time Moshe Reuven went back up was Rosh Chodesh Elul for the Luchos Achronos. V'nisratz HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu was nisratz. It was a time of ritzui, of piyus, of reconciliation. So Ratzon, ritzui, means that there was, once again, the desire, kivyochel, on the part of Hashem and the part of Am Yisrael to work things out, to get back together. There was a terrible breakage that took place as a result of the Chet Egel. Ratzon is a losh of rotzeh. Rotzeh means I want. Ritzui means, again, appeasement and reconciliation. Right? As Chazal say that Yom Kippur is not mechaper, and when it comes to things that went wrong, but on the chaver, ad, what? Shirat says chaver. Yirat says chaver. You have to try to appease the person who you hurt. Ad shirat says chaver. So, Bnei Sasson says, on the most basic level, this time of the year, when Moshe Rabbeinu went up for the second Luchos, is a time of ritzui, appeasement, reconciliation. Nisratz HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, okay, we're going to continue on together. Nisratz. So there was ritzui. So Bnei Sasson continues, V'nei omer lecha da'yom ha'ele heim b'skula l'ratzon ha'elyon me'eis b'yas ha'olam. But Bnei Sasson says the truth is that this, it's not because of what happened after the Chet Egel by that Rosh Chodesh Elul that this time of Elul through the Yom Noraim became a time of what? Of Ratzon. And Sasson says the truth is that these are days of Ratzon from creation. And that's how it worked out on the calendar that it came out after the Chet Egel was Elul, not the other way. So, he says, Meis B'Yas Olam from the time of creation. Yinei B'Tishrei, what Sasson says here is found in all this one. The Divrei Chaim on Shoftim, the Alter Rebbe L'Kutei Torah and Parshas Re'eh, the Moreh Shemesh and his Parish on Tefillah, Shachar Shabbos. It's in all this farm talk about this. This is in all this farm, this Nakuda. But Bnei Sasson is a very big, very, very, very big Bal Masber, says things very, very clearly, in such a way without putting in the Kabbalah in the middle, and he just says, you know, according to Rabbi Eliezer in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, the world was created in Tishrei. Hayom, we say it in the Piyut, in the davening, Hayom Haras Olam, Hayom Yamid B'Mishpat, and so on. Zeh Hayom Tchilas Ma'asecha Zikaron Liyam Rishon. Adam Rishon was created in Rosh Hashanah. So, the Hinei B'Tishrei Niv Ha'olam, according to Rabbi Eliezer, V'Hinei Brias Ha'olam Hayi B'Ratzon. How did the world come about? So the world came about, again, going back to the first words of the Arizal Neitz Chaim. Kisha'olah B'Ritzono Yizbar Livrei Es Ha'olam. Kisha'olah B'Ritzono Yizbar. That there was this mysterious, unknowable will, wanting, this Ratzon that was revealed by Hashem, to have a world. We don't know what was before. There's no such thing as before. We can't say the word before. We're not even allowed to go there. What does it mean? But Kisha'olah B'Ritzono says, Hine B'Yas Ha'olam Hayi Ratzon. Ke'ein Zeh Chasham Ke'umen Shepol Pelosel Hashem Chesrano. It's not that Chasham that Hashem was trying to fix something that was broken. There was a Ratzon. He says, "Who is Baruch Shalom Tachlis Hashleimus? Everything Hashem is perfect. All we know is Ratzon Lahetiv Lebrov. What was revealed to us, Hashem is Baruch allowed us to know through the Torah, through Nevi'im, through Chazal, and through the Mekubalim, and so on, is that Hashem had this mysterious desire, this Avakash Baruch, that he had this desire, this will to create.
It doesn't bring up all the
let's just wait, hold on, David. He brings that. So Bnei also explains now creation took place according to this opinion of the Gemara, which is how Rosh Hashanah works, and all of our davening revolves around all of our avodah. That the world was created in Tishrei. So the actual creation took place in Tishrei, which means Adam HaRishon was created Rosh Hashanah. But when did creation actually begin? What day? The 25th of Elul. Actually by Slichas. The week of Slichas. That's when creation actually began. How do you begin something by the 25th? We don't know what that means. But it was the 25th of Elul that the creation began. That means, when was the Aliyas HaRatzon? When was Hashem's desire unfold? When did it unfold, that desire? That's in Elul. That's the end of Elul. Adam was Rosh Hashanah. But the Aliyas HaRatzon, Amos Ha'isa Aliyas HaRatzon Kivyachal Bel Me'oz V'Hala Huk V'Ledaris Hayom Ha'elan Niskar V'Nasim B'Chol Shani V'Shani Yemei Ratzon. And therefore the Bnei Sasson says, you want to know why the whole business of tshuva and ritzui that took place after the Chet Egel, why did that take place in Elul? That didn't begin after the Chet Egel. It's because these days are Niskarim V'Nasim, that Hashem created the world in such a way with the Aliyas HaRatzon to create. was Elul. That's when Ratzon was first. There was such a thing as Ratzon. It was Ratzon. Ratzon, we don't know what that is. Ratzon was revealed, Hashem's Ratzon, and the sugi of creation began, leading up to Rosh Hashanah, which is other variation. But the sugi of creation began in Elul, leading up to Rosh Hashanah, and the Aliyah Ratzon was in Elul, and therefore me'oz v'hala hukva l'doros hayom ha'elin iskar v'nazim b'chol shana v'shana yemei Ratzon. Therefore, from creation itself, it was woven into Metzius, into reality, that this is a time where one can go back to that place within himself and within herself of Ma'ani Rotzeh. What do I want? Before getting to the actual business of creation and what you're going to do, and tshuva and all your projects that you're going to learn, and what you're going to daven, how you're going to fix your midas, and you're going to be much better than last year. All that stuff. That's all later on. But first you have to want, right? You have to want. That Aliyas Haratzon is Elul. Kisha Ola B'Ritzani is Baruch Shema means this is the time of the year of Aliyah B'Ratzon, when a person asks himself what he or she wants. I'll get back to that in a second. The truth is, there's me'ain. This takes place every single week by Shalosh Shudas. Because by Shalosh Shudas, we called it in my house, by Shalosh Shudas, I still have to force myself to say Shalosh Shudas, but by Shalosh Shudas, Shalosh Shudas is called in the Zohar Kodesh Raiva de Reuven, Ratzon HaRetzonos. Because why? Because creation began on Sunday, at the beginning of time, right? That was Yom Rishon. It was the beginning of creation. So the Aliyas HaRatzon is Shabbos Mincha is called the time of Aliyas HaRatzon. Vanis v'osi l'cha Hashem Aish Ratzon. Mincha and Shabbos is the time of Aliyas HaRatzon. Shal Shidus is Kishe Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu for that week. In other words, is this week going to take place? Is this week going to take place? That's the Ikka, the time of that Aliyas HaRatzon is Shal Shidus. That's the Aliyah Ratzon of this coming week. That's why this one tells us that the time of Shalosh is a time of tshuva, very strong time of tshuva. Now, therefore, for one's ritzonos, to think about what Ma'ani Rotzeh, what is to think about that sugya of what is it that I want. So this inyan of what is it that I want. So what we've been talking about, of course, is me'ayin baso. Ratzon comes from Keser, from that midah that's called Keser, Hashem's crown. And the inyan of Keser is Ratzon, of wanting. Before there's even the beginning of an idea of what's going to actually be, there's the will, there's the Ratzon. Bechira is something, free choice is something that can take place only on can be painted on the canvas of Ratzon. The canvas of Ratzon itself is white. It's something the person doesn't, it's not put into the oisius, into letters of the aleph base. It's the white canvas that's underneath everything. I'm going to share with you. This goes back to. This is already around 46 years ago. So, I just started learning the Meimorim from Rabbi Moshe who was Rav Kook's greatest Talmud. Rabbi Moshe, you all heard the Meimorim. And I was just learning the Meimorim, the Sefer from Rabbi Moshe that's called Lechem Abirim. It's a very hard Sefer. The whole Sefer is on the inyan of Bechira. And And I was sitting in the Beis Medrash in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim. I was sitting in the Beis Medrash, and it was late at night, and there were like two other guys in the Beis Medrash. And I was sitting. It was on a Thursday night, I remember, and I was learning this. The sentence that I'll read to you in a second. And I'm sitting there learning this, and then I see these other guys over there. I see them all jumping up, and I don't know what was going on. And they were looking at me, and I turned behind me, and Rabbi Lichtenstein was standing over there.
Oh, okay.
So I jumped up, yeah. And Rabbi said to me, he says, Moshe, let me see this. He was looking inside over my shoulder. I didn't know that. And he picked it up, and he read this sentence, and he went like out of his. It was just a litvak can go out of his kelim. He went out of his kelim, and he was a big tzaddik about it. And he kept on reading this. He read this sentence a few times, and then he said to me in Hebrew, he said, Moshe, ata mevin et ze? I said, Rabbi, I just started. Maybe Rabbi could explain to me. I don't understand anything. And he just read it over a few times, and he was very misragish. And then he put the Sefer down, and he left. So this is the sentence that he was reading over my shoulder. I'll share it with you. You might not be impressed at all, but he was very impressed. And it's the canvas. It's about the canvas. He says the following. Rabbi Moshe begins, Lechem Abirim Neimarim Parak Aleph. The first sentence is the following. Habechira, free choice. Shiraz Tselem Elokim, which is the mystery of man being in God's image, that man can choose. He's in God's image. Shiraz Tselem Elokim Munachas Baharatzon. Bechira is Munachas. It lays within. It depends upon Ratzon, will, desire. Ulam Klolos HaRatzon. However, Klolos HaRatzon, that one should wanting. Shiur said Dvar Ma, that a person should want something. Lios Rotze, to be a person who wants. Ze'ena B'gvul B'chirasa. That's not a matter of choice. Everything after Ratzon is choice. But Ratzon itself, wanting, it's not a matter of choice. Therefore, there is something compulsive within man. Meaning there is something that man must do. So a person's about Bechira from that point and on, what you write. But the canvas, there's something underneath the writing. Wanting itself, to want, Rabbi Moshe says, Yesh hechach b'adam. That's not by choice. A person is free with his Ratzon to determine what is it that I want. What do I want? That you're free. You have b'chir. It's all wide open. What do you want? That's wide open. But ve'eno chavshi be'etzem haratzon. But you're not free be'etzem haratzon. Muchachu lirtzos. Man must want. God forbid, if a person loses altogether his wanting, he's not going to be able to live. I've shared with you a number of times that my father used to tell us how it was very clear and very obvious when one of the chevra when they were in the camp, when one of them had only a few hours left to live. The way that my father described it is that, at the end of the war, the Germans at that point they weren't bothering as much with the Jews. They were just basically starving. They were starving to death. They weren't taking care of them, but they were so busy because the Americans, the Russians, everything was falling up. They were coming. So at the end of the war, so they weren't even taking them out. My father said at that point they weren't even taking them out to this what they were doing, the work. They weren't taking them out to work. So they would sit around. My father said we would sit around, And mostly what we were doing was we were picking off lice. Our bodies, we were taking off lice. He said the lice were like golf balls. They were like this. They were very fat because they had all to eat. My father said we were busy picking out from our bodies, all over our bodies we were picking out lice. And sometimes the other one would help with the back. We were taking off bugs and lice. And we were just starving to death. And we were hoping that the Americans were just going to drop bombs on us and we'd be finished. The whole thing would end. So my father said that he always had a karsatov to lice. That was just the side thing. He said he always has a karsatov. Because he said it kept us busy with something. So we were picking off lice. And my father said that when you would see one of the chevra that stopped working on it, so then another guy would go over and say to him, Yankel, you okay, Yankel? And he said he would sit like a zombie. And they would, a couple of their friends would try to, the Americans are coming, and the Russians are almost here, we're going to be finished, we're going to get out. The guy, my father said, you saw when he stopped working at the lice, when he stopped caring about himself, he stopped wanting to live. You saw that he no longer wanted to live. So my father said that every one of those guys, within a matter of hours, was dead. Was gone. Finished. Wanting. A person who's alive, as long as there's an ounce of life that's left in you, that's what Rabbi Moshe says. As you must live, so you must want. If you give up on life, then you give up on wanting. If you give up on wanting, you give up on life. It's a terrible thing to talk to a person who's given up on that, who no longer wants. No longer wants. So this was the sentence that Rabbi Aaron was very, very shaken by. And this is the sugya of Ratzon. That as man lives, he must want. Regarding Ratzon, one does not have choice. The only choice you have is ma'at harotzeh. What is it that you want? What is it that you want? So, you could have, I'll give you an example, and I'll go a little bit, just for a few minutes, and we'll go into this item. You could have a married couple, that they have a nice home, and mistadrim, biachad, it's nice, and his family, nice Shabbos table, it's a good guy, nice lady, everything is okay. And what often happens is that it doesn't always work this way, but usually this way, in this direction, is that she's not happy. Okay, go the other way, but she's not happy, and if you, and she might even want to talk about it, but she might with a therapist or with her Rav or with a good friend, and the questions will begin to come. Is there something wrong? No. The kids are okay. Everybody's okay. Parnasa is fine. Between you and Yankel, things are okay. Now she gets a little bit emotional, and she says, "No, he's a good guy. He's good." So the first thing that their friend was worried about is there something like, God forbid, abuse or something bad, some secret. She says, No. He's wonderful. He's wonderful. So then why you look like you're about to cry? So if she's learned, she might quote a pasuk, Aish chayla teres ba'ala. The pasuk Aish chayla teres ba'ala means that the Aish chayla, the wife, is the crown of her husband, right? A teres ba'ala. It's the meaning of the column making circle by the chukka is that crown. Aish chayla teres ba'ala. So this is the learned woman knows the pasuk, and she says, and she might say something to the effect of, "He's a good guy. He's a good guy, and he does what he's supposed to." And anachta b'seder. I don't feel that I'm the crown in his life. In other words, I don't feel his Ratzon. I don't feel that deep Ratzon that I felt when we were first married. I don't feel it. I don't see it. I can't explain it because he does everything right. He's not the kind of guy that forgets an anniversary or forgets a birthday. You have idiots like us that do that sometimes. I have to remember, I think mine is next week. So he's not the kind of guy that forgets that. He doesn't forget, he does the stuff. He's on the program. The Ratzon. He makes the right, he makes good choices. I don't feel is Baruch Shemai. Let me explain this a little bit more. Let's talk about now two friends. You have Reuven and Shimon. Right? So you have Reuven and Shimon. And these friends go back to Gracious. They're good friends. And Reuven asks Shimon, "No, Shimon, Shimon, what do you want?" So Shimon says, "Damas?" He says, "Yeah, what do you want?" I really would like to have like a good coffee from Starbucks. So I see that's an Indian coffee. I'm using as a model because I see people have a Ratzon for that. So he says, "You want a coffee from Starbucks?" So he says, "Yeah." He says, "That's what you want?" He says, "No, the truth is I also would like to make an extension. But the kitchen is crowded. Can I hurry? No, the grandchildren are coming. I'd like to make an extension of the house." That's what you want? He might go through another few items. Now, all of these answers, going from the coffee to the extension, and even, something, a new house or whatever else. All of those answers are answers to the question of Matar Otzeh in the world that's called Nefesh. Nefesh. Very basic. Very much connected to the physical, to this world, right? Nefesh. So now Reuven says, "Okay, listen, Shimon, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, really, tell me the truth. What do you want? But Demis, what do you want? Huh? Coffee, house. Demis, what do you want? Demis, I'm going deeper. What do you want?" So now Shimon says, "Oh, no, okay, I want to be healthy. I want to be a good father. To be, a good husband, a good son, my parents." So he's talking about now the world of Ruach. He's already moving, he's going to a place that's deeper of what he wants. Not just a coffee in a house, but he wants to be able to be better, to be good. And he's going deeper into a place of Ruach. But Reuven is relentless. And Reuven says to Shimon, "Tov, it's very, very nice. But be'emes, I'm asking. Be'emes. Ratzon shel. What do you want? What do you want?" So now Shimon is quiet a little bit, and maybe there's a little bit of a cracks, and it's hard for him. He has to take a deep breath, and he says, "I would like to have a connection to Kodesh Baruch. I would like to feel the words of Avinu Malkeinu, and to know in the deepest part of myself that he is Avinu Malkeinu." And you know what? He can continue on, because that answer of "I want to be able to have this relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu," that's already the world of Neshama, right? So he began answering the question of what do you want with Nefesh. He moved deeper to a place of, his friend moved him to a place of Ruach. Then he moved to another place of Neshama, of Elokus, of Yichud with Hashem, of connecting to Kodesh Baruch Hu. At that point, whether the conversation will continue, it's hard to say. But after this question and his answers, I want to connect to Hashem. I want to know what my neshama is. I want to feel my neshama. I want to feel Kodesh Baruch. I want to feel that the etzem of my neshama. The truth is that there's something that's higher than that. What's higher than that is if you would answer the question of this, if Reuven continues on, no, and Shimon would say, I want absolutely nothing at all. I want nothing. There is no I. I want nothing. I only want what he wants. I don't want anything. Right? Now we're talking about something in the world of Kesser. Ratzon Haratzon is Reuven the Reuven. Kisha'ala B'Sani is Baruch. The will of all wills. So when the wife was crying a little bit, even though she has such a nice husband, and she said the pasuk, Aish chala teres barla, she says, I can't, and she doesn't have words to explain because he's a good guy. What she's saying is that the nakuda, that nakuda of Ratzon, of bittul, of I want nothing, only you and what you want. This is not about the Dalet Amos of Bechira. That's what Moshe is talking about. So when the Bnei Sasson is telling us, and all the tzaddikim are telling us, it's not the Chiddush of the Bnei Sasson. And he's telling us that Elul is the time of Aliyas HaRatzon. It's the time of Aliyas HaRatzon. It means that the avodah of this time is what we're learning about here in order to understand Bechira, because we want to make better choices this year. The year's not over. And we want to make better choices for next year. We want to make better choices. But there are many, many ways that you can make better choices. There in the 9th paragraph of verse 2, which Rav Kook speaks about tshuva nemucha, a lower level of tshuva. You can make better choices just by making, decisions and thinking about it, resolutions and so on. But the avodah really, really is to come to that place where, that the tachlis of all the avodah this time of year is to finally come on Shmini Atzeres when you say, Keser Yitn L'cha, right? Keser Yitn L'cha. That's the whole avodah, is to come to Keser Yitn L'cha. Hamelech, and to bring to Hamelech to a point where it's Mamish Keser Yitn L'cha. And that's, we say this time of the year, the whole time of the year, the minhag of Ashkenazim, the minhag is to say, Chav Zayin is to say, Acha Sha'alti Meis Hashem Oisa Avakesh. Acha Sha'alti, there's only one thing, Oisa Avakesh. And that Acha Sha'alti, so what's the Acha Sha'alti? The Acha Sha'alti is that crown, that Keser, is getting to that final question. Past the coffee in the house, past all the nice things about the family and friends and work, all that stuff, past nefesh ruach, even past neshama to come to a place of bittul mamish, of it. And he would say, klum, me'ayin yova ezri. All I want is Yehi Ratzon milfanecha. Yehi Ratzon milfanecha. Yehi Ratzon milfanecha, and I'm bottle. I'm a drop in the ocean of the infinite will of God. To come to such a place of Ratzon and to let go of one's recitation. You remember the story that I told you about the tzaddik from Charkov Schusi Elaine? When he was, it might have been the Imre Emes, I don't remember. It was the Imre Emes of the Charkov. Either way, there was a big tzaddik. So he was in Vienna, and no, the Church lived in Vienna, but I think it could be at that time he was visiting Vienna. But it might have been the Church. I don't remember where I saw this, I don't remember, so I don't know where to look. So it's probably on a button on the computer. I don't have that, I don't do it, so. But it was either Imre Emes or the Church. So he was going on a wagon with his shamas, going through the main big beautiful boulevard there in Vienna, some magnificent, beautiful boulevard, and there was some local Jew that saw the great tzaddik was the Rebbe was sitting like in the back over there, and this person recognized it was a tzaddik, and it was a beautiful day, and all the yakas are walking with their parasols, their umbrellas, with the sun. They're walking with umbrellas, also like they were walking like that, and I'm sure many of you remember the story that he saw the Rebbe and he screamed out, Rebbe, he asked for a bracha, that the Rebbe should give him a bracha. And the Gabbai wanted to stop the wagon. And the Rebbe said to the Gabbai, keep on going. And the Sid starts to run after the wagon. He says, Rebbe, a bracha. And the Rebbe is looking at the guy in the face, in the eyes. And the Gabbai doesn't know what to do. What's going on? And the Rebbe says, go, keep on going. And the whole time the guy's running with his umbrella, after the Rebbe, Rebbe, a bracha. And the Rebbe's looking at him and says, go. Then the guy throws the umbrella away and he's running. And the Rebbe tells the Gabbai, stop. And the Rebbe leans over and the Rebbe gives him a very, very beautiful and warm bracha. And the Gabbai didn't understand, what was that torture about to do that to this poor guy? And the Rebbe said to him, as long as he's holding the umbrella, he didn't really want the bracha. He was waiting to see if he would let go of the umbrella. Because that way the bracha could be chal. The bracha is not going to be chal. I want to give him really a bracha. It had to come to a point where he wanted nothing else. Where he wasn't holding on to things. The Indian of tshuva, of letting go of things, is not because Hashem doesn't want us to have a parasol, to be able to walk on a nice boulevard in Vienna, but to walk someplace with an umbrella in the sun, to be a nice fancy person that has a nice, or the coffee, or the extension of the house. Tshuva, the pnimis of tshuva elyoina is when you take the question that Hashem is asking, ma'at harotzeh, you take it seriously. And you begin to think about, ma'ani rotzeh. What do I want with my life? I gave the moshel of a marriage, that's Shiur Shim, moshel the nimshel, but in the nimshel of, when I say the words, and I'm already stepping halfway out of the shul, I say the words, Acha shalti meis Hashem, oisa avakesh, Acha shalti meis Hashem. To ask yourself, what is the Acha shal? What is it that I'm asking for? What's my Raiva de Raivan? What's my Ratzon haritzinus? What's my Kisha'ol b'Ratzonai is Baruch Livrei Sa'olam? What's the Oisa Avakesh? Because you could fool yourself with all of the others, all the bechiras. You see this happens to us all the time. You make a decision on Rosh Hashanah, or whatever. You make a decision, say something true, that I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to do that bad thing anymore. I'm going to do this thing. And then what happens? What happens very often, not always, but very often, what happens that already by the time it's cheshvan, it's already, it's not part of life. The whole thing with Neila and the whole slichus Hashem giving Neila, it's all gone. That's makara. What happened to it? You had all these things you planned. So what happened to it? Because that's what Rabbi Moshe is saying. All of those are bechiras. Those are choices. But if your Ratzon hasn't changed, if your Ratzon is the same Ratzon, it's very, very. If you don't let go of the umbrella, and you still have those silly Ritzinus, if you haven't identified that Ma'at HaRotzeh, if you haven't come to a point in your life, which is very, very, very hard. That's really what it's all about. To come to that place. That's why the tachlis of all of the avodah is that one word to say, Hamelach, or to come on Shmini Atzeres to say, Keser, crown, Keser. Because Keser already means something else. Kesser crown means that you're in a place of Mashat Arutza. I'm yours. I belong to you. That's what the wife wants to feel. She wants to feel, I'm yours. And she doesn't feel that. She feels that he makes a lot of nice choices, but she doesn't feel that I'm yours. Aish is Chalateres, but she doesn't feel that Nakuda of Ratzon. A lot of children don't feel that with their parents. This is not only Ben Alma Mokum, but on Mechaveru as well. This Indian of Ratzon, of Ma'ata Bamet Ratzon. The kids are very, very smart, and they feel that what my father wants most is that I should be smart and top yeshiva to make him proud. And the kids know that. It's not, I want what you want. It's not that. It's, I want what I want, you better do it. So to let go of those secondary, tertiary Ritzinis, and be able to, from Nefesh and Ruach, and even the Shaman, to come to a point of Keser, that's the tachlis of all the Avodah. That's why Elul is Kisha Ola B'Ritzinis Baruch Shemayim. David, you wanted to say something or ask something?
I'd say it's not that important.
Okay, so that's why these are called, this whole time is a time of Ratzon. So that's exactly. Let's just begin the first sentence on page Kuf Lamed Zayin. What's that?
We spoke about this in Shul once, the idea of having even a Ratzon to have a Ratzon.
Yeah, but it's brought down from Yida Kodesh that until 10 times it's still called a Ratzon. After that, it's baloney. Because I want to want. It's still something, but when it gets ready to that kaima of 10, just come on.
You also said that to have a Ratzon, not to want to have a Ratzon, is a Ratzon.
Yeah. It's also a big avodah when it comes to the Sur Meirah. For those who are not happy about the things that they're doing, they have a Ratzon not to want this anymore, not to want the drink, not to want the picture, not to want Signavaldiganian too. It's not the shleimus of tshuva, but it's in the parsha of wanting. It's already now. You have to connect the beginning and the end. You have to create. It's magim mereishis achris. Yitain shem tov sheiros. Carry through with the chassan. That's the beginning. Before the chasna, you say you want to make this chasna. We ask the parents, do you want to go through the chasna? We say magim mereishis achris. Magim mereishis achris is a very, very big thing. It's the end and the beginning. Seif ma'aseh machshav etchila. When the person's house the person wanted to have a house, and when the house is finally finished, it could take a year or two, and it could take 5 or 10 years. And you wanted this to be finished, so then you could say, "Soif ma'aseh machshav." This is what I was thinking about that first second when I had this Oliver signing, and I didn't even know what the house would look like, but Oliver signing. So Friday night we say by L'Chadaydi. Soif ma'aseh machshav etchila. Shabbos is the end of the week, but it's the machshav etchila. It's the tachlis ma'aseh shemayim v'aretz. Tachlis ma'aseh shemayim v'aretz. So he begins this parak Kuf Lamed Zayin. Av shar Ratzon shalonu b'yisodim ishtal shal miratzon Hashem. Even though our Ratzon, as we were learning about in the last parak, our Ratzon is that we have this neshama inside of us that wants closeness to Hashem. That's, of course, is ishtal shal Hashem's Ratzon. That's planted in us from Hashem's kishol b'ritzon. That that a Jew has within him an olah b'ritzon to be a yid. That comes from the olah b'ritzon Yisbarach, who created the world with the vision of having people like us with all of our issues who will keep Shabbos and we'll say brachas and bench and put on tefillin. That's k'shala b'tzayin Baruch Shema. He had us in mind. It's hard to believe. He was looking at us. This is what he had in mind. K'shala b'tzayin. Ratzon shalom b'yisrael mishtal shem Ratzon Hashem kishu meifiyah b'kirbein. Hashem's Ratzon as it appears within us, as it is manifested within us, Hashem's will is manifested within us. It's revealed within us. Hashem's will, Hashem's wanting, is the deepest wanting of a Jew. That's the kesher, that's the crown. It's very easy for a person's will to become dislodged, and he actually feels that the answer to the question of what do you want is a coffee. And you have to push him to try to get a little bit further than that. But if you just stop us in the middle of the day, I want to close this deal. What do you want? I want this deal. That's what you want? Oh, you see, you have to push the guy. Right? You want to close the deal? Yeah. What do you mean? I'm working on this deal for the last 6 months. Are you kidding? I want to close this deal. That's what you want? So then you'll ask, because this is your friend at work, you say, what's wrong with you? We've been working on this deal together. No, but we're going to sign the deal. But I just want, your friend is like a very religious guy. And he stops and says, no, but I just wanted to stop for a second before we sign the deal that we've been working on all these months. And I want to ask you ask me, what do I want? What do I want? So it's very easy for that wanting to get fablanged, To get fablanged. Just on a side note about the coffee, and I don't mean this in any way to insult people that like, I don't drink coffee, I never had any coffee, I never drank it once in my life. So I don't mean to insult them because people say you don't know what it's like, If you know what it's like, you would really want it. So there was a chiddush that I saw recently that I never saw before, that there was a young married guy that went up to daven for the Amud, and he took the coffee with him to the Amud, and he was sipping by the Amud. So that was a chiddush. That already was something, the next level. Not that he just brought it to shul. I'm not talking about for learning. For learning, of course, that's not it. I'm saying he brought it people that now come with coffee to shul, which I never ever saw when I was growing up. The Jew should walk into shul with something in his hand, other than a siddur and his tefillin, his talis and tefillin. Never saw my life growing up ever. So now they already got to the next level where people actually sit in shul and they put on the table a coffee, and every now and then they'll take a sip by daven. This was a new thing that I saw. But a guy went to the Amud, and I could not deal with that. I went over to him. I said in a very nice way. I said, I don't believe that that you realize this, that it's not respect what you're doing. And he said, I don't know what happened to, when it goes someplace else, but he was, he came to that. Yeah. So it's very easy. Everybody has their wants, and they elevate them to a place that's called needs. So you can say, I need my coffee in the morning. That just means that you're sick. If you need a coffee in the morning, it means that you're sick. Because sick people have needs. It means you're sick. You could say, I would like a coffee. In my house with my father's we had to be careful with certain vocabulary, certain words, which I've tried. It's very, very partially successful with the next generation to give over to the kids. But one of the things I was not able to say, I don't know, Jeff, if you had this, I was never allowed to say, I'm tired. It was absolutely not allowed in my house to say the words, I am tired. My father corrected that, said, if you want, you could say you're sleepy. But you can't say you're tired. Starving or hungry, not even hungry. Not allowed to, at all. At all. Even to say the word, I need, my father was very careful with us when he said the word, I need. So I once remember saying, I really need some air conditioning in here, because my father usually would set it like at 76 or something like that. I really need some air. My father said, you don't need it, you would like it. Don't say you need air conditioning. It's only sick people need air conditioning. You would like air conditioning. If you had to, you would live. I was in Utah a couple weeks ago. My wife and I were in Utah. We got off the plane, and the guy said on the plane, it's 107 degrees. It was 107 degrees. So you need air conditioning, But by my father was you would like, or it would be nice to have, but don't say you need. So the problem is that confusion between wanting what you really want and stam what you would like. That's what he says. You could forget what you really want. The real Ratzon, the Ratzon of Hashem's Ratzon. You could forget the Ratzon of Ratzon because there's so many distractions. It's so easy to get sidetracked. So easy. Therefore, the avodah begins. L'taher es atzmeinu, purifying ourselves. U'l'hashiv es harotzon el makara, to get back to that question of what do I want? Be'emes. Imagine Reuven asking you, or if you're a lady, imagine your friend Shandel asking you, what do you want? What do you want? Be'emes, and not settling with the coffee or the house or the stuff, or even the family or the friends and parnas, all the other stuff, all that's nefesh ruach, not to settle. Is la taher es atzmeinu la hashiv es harotzon el makar, to bring the rotzon back to its makar, to its source, to its beginning. Lirtzois es rotzon Hashem. That's Rabbi the Reuven. And he lo rotzeh shum davar. And he rak rotzeh ma shata rotzeh. I don't want anything. I only want what you. I'm letting go of my umbrella. I'm letting go of my coffee. I'm letting go of that. So those are the particulars of tshuva. That was the Rabbi was saying. He's got to let go of something. So the particulars of tshuva are letting go of stuff, of the bad stuff, and picking up some good stuff. So you let go of the umbrella, you let go of the coffee and shul, and you pick up mishnayos, you pick up siddur, whatever. Pick up good stuff. Those are the particulars. I used coffee, and those are harmless examples, or maybe that's not coffee is harmless, but whatever the thing is in your life those are the particulars of tshuva, to let go of the bad habits. Because Jews are good, and we have bad habits, so we pick up bad habits during the year. To let go of the bad habits, that's the umbrella. Those are the particulars of tshuva. But the pnimius of tshuva elyaina, what tshuva is, and there's the whole area of tshuva. Rav Kook, tshuva is it's what that wife was getting emotional about with her nice husband. And Hashem gets emotional with us, kivyachol. So we could say to Hashem, what do you mean? I davened today. I davened all the tefillas. I'm a guy, I put on film. I kept Shabbos, I made Kiddush, I made Havdalah. So why is Hashem getting all emotional? Because Hashem could be saying to each and every one of us, but I feel that I'm not your crown. You understand? I feel that I'm not your crown. The whole avodah of this time is to uncrown Hashem. That's all. That Hashem's Baruch can look at us and say, yes, I'm proud of you. I'm happy with all that you do, and I have a big olam haba for you, and it's all good. And that you stay away from the bad stuff. I'm so proud of you. And I love you. Because that husband and wife love each other. I'm proud of you and I love you. Avamashu chaser. Chaser. There's a kohev. It's missing and it hurts. That crown. Something else. You can't fake that. You could buy the biggest stitches in Judaica Plus that they reach like the floor. And you're 6 foot tall and it reaches the floor. And you could grow fat payas. And you could buy yourself a shtreimel to the ceiling. All of that stuff. It's all cute, it's all nice. But the Ratzon of a person is a mashuach. The second a person walks into shul, it's very clear. It's the second. What do you want over here in this place? Why did you come here? What do you want? It's the same question, but why did you come to the world? What do you want in the world? Why did you come to the world? So Rav Yaakov says, you weren't given a choice to be born, but all the choices that you have are dependent upon coming to that place of saying, what did Hashem want by sending me into the world? And what do I want? And the whole avoid of this world is somehow aligning those two. That what he wants is what I want. That's what we're talking about. What he wants, Mashu Tzah, Ani Tzah. And that's the need of tzaddik, which we're going to talk about in the next parak. Tzaddik goes because Baruch Hu. Why is it you see that a tzaddik could say something and a tzaddik could bring about miracles? How does the tzaddik have such a power to change the world? A tzaddik could do all kinds of amazing things. Why? Because Imani Ratzeh Mashu Hu Ratzeh, then what? Hu Ratzeh, Mashu Ratzeh. So tzaddik could say, the doctor said this person can't have a kid. Mr. Shem, you'll have a baby, and we'll be together by the bris a year from now. What kind of thing is that? And it worked. It worked. What kind of thing is that? The answer is because his whole life is only what Hashem wants. So Kivyochel Hashem's life is what he wants, and Hashem knows I can trust him. He's not going to ask for the lottery or something like something with the coffee. I trust him. I can trust him. Hashem trusts that tzaddik. Botach bo leiv baila. Hashem trusts that this tzaddik has good taste, and he knows that the thing to ask for in life is not a cup of coffee. So therefore, when the tzaddik says something, tzaddik such a thing, because the tzaddik, the Ratzon, the tzaddik is aligned with the infinite will of Hashem. Therefore, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, "Anachnu biyachad, anachnu biyachad." So even though you're a human being and you're limited, but since anachnu biyachad, so the Alter Rebbe is standing with the B'ditcheva, and they had to save somebody's life, and there was a whole fortress over there, and they looked at each other and they walked through the wall. How? We can't do that. We just bump our heads. Because the tzaddikim weren't going there, that it should be written up in the magazine or the newspaper. Great job of the rabbis, that the board of rabbis from Liozna and Liadi and Bedishev rescued the prisoner, and to have it written up. They knew, the Rosh Hashanah knows that you could trust the Balatanya and the Bedishev. You could trust them. They know what they're doing. Rabbi should trust us, we should trust them.